I've gotten kind of tired over the years of the whole video game journalists are bad at video games joke. Mostly because it's overused. But what it really reflects is that a large part of the gaming public do not like gaming journalists at all. Now there's probably a lot of reasons for this, but one of the biggest reasons is that the gaming journalists themselves kind of return the favor. Here's an article that I happened upon a few days ago. It's titled, "If you're mad about God of War Ragnarok's Thor, you know nothing about mythology." In it, the author makes the case that Thor's depiction in the upcoming God of War game is more mythologically and historically accurate. Okay, I'm going to address the claim fairly quickly, because it's not really the central point of this video, and personally I don't really care how God of War decides to depict Thor. So let's just very quickly go through the evidence. The author of this article mentions two stories that depict Thor eating a lot. There's one story where he drinks half the ocean, and there's another where he attends a wedding ceremony and eats a cow and several casks of ale. And that's pretty much it. The author doesn't have any more historical references to speak of. Now, to be fair to the writer, you could easily say that the creators of God of War definitely took artistic inspiration from these stories in order to depict Thor in this light. And certainly there's nothing to say anywhere that Thor wasn't fat. But that's kind of the point. The original myths don't have any description of his physique. Thor's description is vague, and so it's possible to depict him in a lot of ways, and those ways could still be historically accurate. So if this piece had simply been a defense of fat Thor, then it would work really well. This is a perfectly legitimate way to depict Thor. But the author isn't really making that claim. He's making the claim that this Thor is more accurate than a heavily muscular Thor with a six-pack. And that's where we run into problems, because that's not true. There are no historical depictions of Thor as fat, anywhere. Norse pagan was a real religion, and Thor was a god in that religion. So when you say that one Thor is more accurate than another Thor, then you're claiming that you know what 12th century Norse pagans thought Thor looked like. And you can't know that, because nobody knows that. So in my opinion, the author is wrong. But on its own, that's fine. There isn't anything wrong with being wrong. But let's actually look at how the article is written, because that's the real point I want to make today. I've already mentioned the headline, but let's go through it again. If you're mad about God of War Ragnarok's Thor, you know nothing about mythology. And then in the very first line of the article, the gamers have struck again, this time demonstrating a breathtakingly historically illiterate view of who Thor, the Norse god of thunder, actually is. The gamers have struck again? That's how you start your piece? We're exactly one sentence into this article, and the author has already used the word gamer as a slur. He's told me I know nothing about mythology, and he's called me historically illiterate. And this is the real point I want to make with this video. This article is not about Thor. This article is deliberately written to be offensive. It's trying to get you to behave irrationally and elicit a negative response. And I think we should all just kind of stop. Because the three of us, the three groups, players, YouTubers, and game journalists, we have this terrible toxic relationship going on where we parasitize each other. So a journalist will write an article like this, designed to get a negative reaction, designed to get clicks and interactions from people, because that's how they get paid. And then we YouTubers, we find these articles, we point them out, we show them to our audiences, and then our audiences get up in arms. The intended reaction with the article does happen, which generates for them more clicks, more views, more discussion around the topic. And so the journalists get paid, and the YouTubers make money off of their showcasing the journalists' work, and this terrible symbiotic relationship between the two groups is reinforced. At the cost, of course, of creating further division between the gaming public and the gaming press, as well as slowly making the world a worse place. Now the problem is, there's no way to stop this on the YouTubers or the gaming journalists' side. The incentive structure is there. You can't stop people from taking advantage of an incentive structure and enriching themselves. It's not going to happen. But maybe the gaming public might get bored. It gets boring after a while. So if you really hate this kind of article, this kind of thing, just don't engage with it. Don't go on this guy's Twitter. Don't harass him. Don't click on his article. In fact, don't even watch this video. Stop watching it right now. Exit out. I'm done anyway. Basically done. Thanks for watching, but also stop.